Make sure you email cormancast@gmail.com. It's hard to keep up with everything, but we try our best. Greetings and welcome to episode 3 of the Corman Fantasy Cast. What an unbelievable week 1 of the NFL season, week 1 of the Corman Fantasy season. Unbelievable matchups. So excited to have with us this week our special guest host, CJ Aker. Welcome, CJ.
Thank you, Kevin. Pleasure to be here.
CJ is the owner of
Old Dirty BJ.
Old Dirty BJ. Awesome name. What an amazing week. We have so much to talk about, so much to get to. But before we get into the specifics, CJ, talk to me. What were some of the takeaways or one of the main takeaways that you took away from week 1 in the Corman League?
Besides Bombo being a piece of shit, I have to say that our commish and fearless leader did a really good job by limiting the bench spots this year. We only have 5 bench spots, and I've noticed that that's made a huge difference as far as the depth that you have on the bench.
Yes.
And what you can do as far as waiver wire pickups, handcuffs. You know, you always want to kind of be a little bit strong in the RB position, but now you have injuries or defenses. People are streaming sometimes, and it's making it a lot more difficult.
Absolutely true. That's a great point. For me, I can tell you from my personal experience, when I learned on Friday evening that Gronkowski was going to be out, I had to pick up an extra tight end. Didn't have one on my bench, so somebody had to go. I had a really, really tough time deciding who I was going to drop, and I ended up losing a guy that I thought was going to be a pretty productive player as the season went on. But those are tough decisions that have to be made. But I agree. I think even though it was tough for me, I think overall it's going to make the Corman a lot more compelling and create a lot more interesting moves in both trades, free agency, waivers, all that stuff.
Yeah, not only that, but I noticed you got Eric Ebron and dropped Philip Dorsett, and Eric Ebron did pretty good. He's looking like he might be a pretty good pickup. So
he did, and I do have Gronkowski, so a couple more good weeks out of Eric Ebron, and he might be some pretty tantalizing trade bait for someone out there. But that is a whole nother story altogether. We have so much to get to. Okay, getting into our week 1 results. High on AJ's Green beats Canuckles. Look, the story in this matchup was high on A.J. Green's running backs. Melvin Gordon and DeMarco Murray both had question marks going into this season about their production. For week 1, at least, there was no question. 17 and 18 points, respectively.
One thing I noticed is only 3 of your players scored less than they were projected to score. You scored the 3rd most points. High on A.J.'s Green scored the most points.
It's a hard luck loss.
Mm-hmm.
Dolomite Pimp Squad takes out Mohawk Maniacs. Dolomite got no help from Dez, but won on contributions from Kelvin Benjamin, LaShawn McCoy, and Ryan Matthews. More than half of Mohawk's points came from one player, Drew Brees, which is never a good sign. Girl Power beat Boomer in one of several Week 1 grudge matches. Jameis Winston and Carlos Hyde were Girl Power's leading scorers, but Blair Walsh's 16 points were the difference here. Boomer makes it interesting with a lot of points out of Antonio Brown on Monday night, but not enough to get the win in week 1. Beers edges out Adrian Peterson in a close 4-point matchup. Andrew Luck's 34.5 and Brandon Cook's 27.5 pushed Beers over the top, and Peterson just had no one step up. Palmer was held to 17 points, and no one else scored more than Julio Jones's 12.6 points. And with that kind of production, honestly, it's amazing that it was even that close.
Yeah, and Adrian Peterson, I was watching that match. He had a couple guys late night on Sunday, and I was thinking he was going to pull it out too, but Andrew Luck and Brandon Cooks, no chance.
No chance. Bombo Berry steamrolls Old Dirty Blowjob by 30 points in the most heated match of the week. Look, for Bombo, it was Larry Fitzgerald, C.J. Anderson, and Minnesota's defense chipping in 20-plus points each. That's impressive. And look, aside from a nice 15.5-point game from Matt Forte, CJ, you just really couldn't get any mojo going.
You know, that was a shitty start, especially being it was a Thursday game. And I'll tell you what, there's a little bit more at stake than you guys might know of. Because me and Bombo Berry have a little water bet going. And he said that he's going to sweep me twice. That's not going to happen. Demaryius Thomas was also hurt, and C.J. Anderson went off.
Yes, lots of excuses. Saved by Lev Bell takes out defending champ. How did I win last year? Look, at a match that was decided by less than 1 point. Saved by Lev. Saved by Lev Bell takes out defending champ How Did I Win last year in a match that was decided by less than 1 point. Saved by Lev Bell got some revenge after some harsh words in an interview last week here on this very fantasy cast from last year's defending champion. So, how do you win when your quarterback scores only 5.5 points? Well, Joe, I guess anything's possible when your opponent only scores 74.
Everyone remembers when How Did I Win last year was in here saying how Saved by Lev Bell was a disgrace to the holiday name.
Yeah, he may have put the kibosh on himself with that comment there. Joe had a lot of motivation and was able to pull out the win. And look, I don't care if it's by 1 point or 30.
Yeah.
You never have to apologize for winning.
Hey, if both of them were to play everyone in the league, they only would be one person. Mohawk Maniacs.
Yeesh. Sorry, Wayne. And our last matchup, hashtag Kickers Lives Matter puts a thumping on Dak Attack. Yeah. Hashtag Kickers Lives Matter got 55, I repeat, 55 points from an all backup running back tandem. That is insane. Dak Attack got less than 50 points from their quarterback, all 3 wide receivers, and their tight end combined, which is also kind of equally insane.
Yeah, we'll see how he does if Le'Veon Bell and Jamal Charles come back and he has no more running backs.
That's a great point. I mean, they put up such great numbers, but in a few weeks, the 2 best running backs on Kickers Lives Matters team might both be riding the pine.
Mm-hmm.
Week 1 accolades!
My Week 1 accolade goes to Dak Attacks. He had the 9th pick and got David Johnson. Mohawk Maniacs had the 6th pick and got Adrian Peterson. When the draft was over, they traded, and Dak Attacks ended up with 20 points from David Johnson, and Mohawk Maniacs got a lousy 3.1 points from AP.
Ouch.
Mm-hmm.
And my accolade for Week 1 is for the GIF of the week. And here are your nominees. Clever Girl. Alrighty then, Gronk's out. And fuck this laptop monkey. And this week's winner is Fuck This Laptop Monkey by hashtag Kickers Lives Matter. So look, I gotta say, really funny gift, but try to steer away from the monkeys, because it seems to be becoming a theme of yours, and we really want to diversify.
He does do a lot of monkeys.
Yeah. But guys, keep those gifts coming, because it's been a total game changer on our message board. We want to give this award every week as long as we have the gifts to do it. So let's get into our fantasy ups and downs. Here's the criteria, okay? Your ups are the guys who you don't expect a lot from but give you huge days, and your downs are guys that you're expecting to carry your team and fall flat on their face.
Oh, right off the bat, I got to say Willie Snead.
Oh, well, thank you.
That's your man, and he scored 22.2 points. He's a wide receiver, too. Brandon Cooks is the wide receiver 1.
Yeah. Another one, C.J. Anderson. 25.9 points for Mambo. I know he's the lead running back there, but after last year's abysmal season that C.J. Anderson had, I got to give him props for that game against a really good Panthers defense.
Yeah, and how about Spencer Ware? 25.5 points for Kickers Lives Matter. Back up to Jamal Charles.
Enjoy it while you can. And Carlos Hyde, a guy that really nobody was talking about going into the draft. 21.3 points for Girl Power. Really nice production there from Carlos Hyde. As for the downs.
Oh, how about Des Bryant?
Yeesh.
What did he get, 1 catch?
For 8 yards.
For 8 yards, that's right. That was for Dolomite Pimp Squad.
That's right. Also, when you're talking about your downs, you got to talk about Adrian Peterson. 3.1 points out of a guy who could have been the number 1 pick in the overall draft. I know it's only week 1. We don't want to get too carried away, but you got to have more than 31 yards from Adrian Peterson.
You sure do. And not only that, but a quarterback's got to get more than 5.54 points. How about Tyrod Taylor? All that hype around him for Saved by Lev Bell?
Right. Also, a new contract before the season starts, and this is what he gives the people of Buffalo. That's terrible.
Yeah.
And then finally, Todd Gurley. 4.2 points for Girl Power. I mean, he was literally the best running back available in the entire draft, and he's giving you 4.2 points. Look, if that's a guy that you're putting in because one of your starters is on bye week, it ain't bad. But 4.2 points for an elite running back like Todd Gurley, that's just abysmal.
Yeah, I think Benny Cunningham got more points than him.
Yeah, which is sad. I also want to bring up bench beasts. So bench beasts would be guys who had huge days, but it didn't even matter because they were sitting on your goddamn bench, right?
Yeah. How about Danny Woodhead? 18 points for Adrian Peterson.
Useless on your bench. Also, Theo Riddick, 22.8 points for How Did I Win last year. How did I lose this week? Theo Riddick was on the bench.
Saved by Lev Bell. Jordan Matthews, 17.4 points.
And Will Fuller, also for Saved by Lev Bell, 16.7 points as the third wide receiver option for the Texans, 16.7 points.
Nice bench, Saved by Lev Bell. You're lucky you won by 1 point.
Mm.
Injuries suck. I know firsthand. I had Demaryius Thomas, and who really knows what's going on him? You hear little things here and there, but you don't really know if he's going to play. And if he does play, do I want to start him? Not really sure. Emmanuel Sanders did pretty good. He didn't really get too many looks. C.J. Anderson was killing it.
Yeah, plus, Trevor Siemian is throwing the ball, so, yeah.
Yeah, well, he might be better than Peyton Manning. You never know.
Mm.
There's a lot of injuries this week. A lot of big guys. Sammy Watkins, for example. Mohawk Maniacs. You don't really know what's going on with him. Same thing. He's a big question mark.
Mm.
How about Russell Wilson? De Silva. Same thing. Another question mark. Not really sure. And Ndamukong Suh stepped on him.
A man who has a history of stepping on other people.
Yeah, very true. Beers had 2 guys go down. One's Keenan Allen, who's out for the season. Torn ACL. That's a big one. That's first-round pick.
Yeah, he ain't coming back.
Mm-hmm. And he also had RG3. I think RG3 was on his bench, but, still, it's another guy that...
It's another big loss.
Yeah, it's another big loss. Chris Ivory, B for Boomer. Sorry, Boomer. He's not too good with the running back depth.
No,
he's got Matt Jones and he's got LeGarrette Blount. So that's going to be a little rough one for him to pick up.
Need those wide receivers to step up, Boomer.
You do need those wide receivers to step up. Zach Ertz, saved by Lev Bell. That's another problem. You know who else? This is breaking news. Des Bryant. Self-esteem. Yep, his self-esteem's hurt because he only got 0.8 points because Cole Beasley got the majority of the passes. So that's going to be a tough one for Dolomite Pimp Squad.
Also, Gronk, please come back.
Gronk just doesn't play. That's had to be a big surprise.
Had a hammy injury. Didn't even take the trip out to Arizona, but I'm confident he will be back sooner rather than later.
So injuries are big. That's a big opportunity for trades. People need players to pick up injured players. They need to pick up players to cover injured players. There might be an opportunity for a buy high or a sell high or a buy low. So wink wink for Demaryius Thomas.
Yeah, I wink at Demaryius Thomas. All right, so wrapping up here, let's go over our slate for Week 2. Starting off, we have our highlighted rivalry match of the week between Knuckles and How Did I Win last year. Aside from me personally wanting to get revenge from the ass-kicking that Chris laid on me in the championship game, keep in mind, one of the 2 finalists from last year's championship game is going to start the season 0-2, and I'm determined it won't be me.
Another undefeated teams we have here, Dolomite Pimp Squad and Saved by Lev Bell. Dolomite Pimp Squad had the 8th most points. Saved by Lev Bell had the 12th most. Saved by Lev Bell only scored 75 points. Joe and Brian been going at it for years, especially on Madden. Let's see who lives up to the hype here and pulls out the V.
That's right. Also, Girl Power versus Bombo Berry. This is old Corman blood versus new Corman blood. Mike, our 3-time champion at the beginning of the Corman dream and legacy. And Bombo, our newest Corman member who's had a lot of early success. Let's see how that matchup turns out.
Beers and Kickers Lives Matter. Another good one. It's going to determine who's 2-0. Kickers Lives Matter had the 2nd most points, I believe. So we'll see what happens there.
That's right. And in all those last 3 that we announced, all those teams are 1-0. So we're going to only have 3 teams that are going to start 2-0. So the stakes are high. Also, Old Dirty Blowjob versus Mohawk Maniacs. CJ, you had a lot of choice words for Wayne, some criticism from this week. So, in a way, this might have just turned into a rivalry game.
Yeah, well, not showing up to the draft really affects a person's team, So, we'll see what happens, Maybe he'll get a little bit more than 60 points, but I'm not expecting too much of a hard time.
Right. High on AJ's green after coming off of a really, really powerful performance in week 1 goes after Dak Attack.
Yeah, and B for Boomer versus Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson, I think, had a pretty good showing. B for Boomer's got a couple injuries to deal with, so we got to see who steps up on this one.
That's right. So join us next week when we'll recap all of these matchups. I can only hope that week 2 in the Corman is as exciting as week 1. Until next time, Ave Atque Vale. See you around.
Peace out.